This was one of many cases he is fighting. There are federal charges, there are criminal charges, there are civil cases. This is one of 4 sets of criminal charges he is facing over various different things. This, I think, the most serious, trying to basically overturn an election result, which he knew at the time, everyone believes, to have actually been a legitimate result, which Joe Biden having won that election. This claim in court was greeted with some scepticism by the judges in the Washington, D.C. court, wasn't it?
Yes, and rightfully so. And I think that we're going to probably see this wrap up sooner rather than later. You have the 3 panel of judges, and I think that they're most likely probably already writing their opinions as you and I are speaking. And then it may end up in the Supreme Court. Yesterday, his attorney it was quite something to listen to when they said, well, could he take, the judge asked, could he order Navy SEAL Team 6 to assassinate his political opponent? And their response, basically in a nutshell, was yes, but he would have to be impeached and then prosecuted first by the Senate. Those were huge eye-opening words. And so the fact that he truly believes, I think, in his mind, that he should have immunity like a dictator, like maybe Kim Jong-un or Xi Jinping, is
The
just
strong
mind-blowing. And
men.
then what was even further sad was the same day that his mother-in-law passed away, he still continued to rant and rave about himself and being a victim in the whole scenario, instead of even, putting out his condolences.
Well, indeed. He's always, got praised these so-called strong men whenever they're elected, inverted commas, often or not elected, and he's always wanted those powers for himself, hasn't he? I mean, it is the case, a president in office, you can't face lawsuits and things, can they? Because they would be, got to get on with the job. But the idea that you'd have immunity for life for anything you did, no matter what it was, is quite an absurd idea. This is likely to, you say, dealt with quite quickly, but then he's going to appeal, likely a lot of these cases to end up at the Supreme Court, where, of course, he was able to appoint, was it 3 Supreme Court judges with very much the Republican leanings. It's always been political. It's always the case on both sides. Is it likely that he could win any of these cases, do you think?
This one in particular, I don't see how any judge, no matter if he appointed them or not, could actually go into his favor, because as you just mentioned, in order to have immunity, I mean, I'm sure it would deal with a number of scenarios, but this would not be one of them, in my opinion. And I'm not an attorney, but I think most reasonable and rational people would understand that if you're trying to overturn the election, if you are saying, hey, you need to find, certain amount of votes to make sure that I'm in the winning corner, or if you're the one who's overseeing a fake elector scheme to make sure that the election is not certified, I think we're in a world of trouble. And, it's a shame that back when this all first happened, when he was impeached by the House of Representatives, that Senator Mitch McConnell did not take it to the Senate floor, and he was hoping that the courts would make the decision. I think that we would have already had this nipped in the bud, but here we are, and now it's up to the courts. And I think the courts will actually not vote in Trump's favor.
Well, the thing is, time is running out. I mean, I do think there is a political motivation in some of these cases, but I still think they're also legitimate cases. I think those things can both be true at the same time. But we're looking at the start of the Republican primaries next week, the Iowa caucus. That vote is happening. He's still the front runner to win the Republican nomination by a very long way over people like Ron DeSantis, who I think is a much more viable candidate, and Nikki Haley as well. It is extraordinary territory. In this country, some years back, MPs, ministers lost their jobs for claiming expenses for a bath plug or a flat screen telly in their second home. This is a man who has been charged with the most extraordinary crimes across, in state and federal cases and civil crimes, and yet it's still going strong. And every time he appears in court, he goes up in the polls. Why?
That's an excellent question. And I think really he's done such a good job at claiming victimhood and making sure that his base also understands that if he's not chosen, because he's the only man in his view that is the answer to making sure that America is on its right track. He has them so convinced that they too could be in a world of trouble, just like he is, and that the government will come after you and I if he is not the next president of the United States. And so when he makes comments saying that if this situation does not go in his favor, that there will be bedlam in the nation. He's already saying that there's going to be an uprising, that there's going to be possible violence. And that very well may be true, but why is he communicating that? It's because he wants to make sure that he doesn't just have the eyes and ears of those who are sitting in the court, but he has the public opinion in his pocket. So then that way, no matter what the decision is, he will still come out, on top, so to speak.
Yeah.